Welcome to a Men of His Word audio recording. Men of His Word is a conference that equips Christian men to take a leadership role within their family, congregation, and community. Go to menofhisword.org to find information on upcoming conferences and resources. This breakout session is entitled Youth Group, Do or Do Not Resuscitate. It was given in Oshkosh on February 17th, 2024. Clark Schultz is an associate pastor at Shepherd of the Hills in West Bend and assists with the youth ministry. He is the author of 5-Minute Bible Studies for Teens.
It's good to see everyone here today. I will save a lot of comments of who I am until we get into the actual presentation. Taught high school, as he said, for 14 years, and so I have learned over the years to keep high school students somewhat engaged, so I'll be moving around a little bit, but I do always start out every presentation I do with a video, and usually the video is either something serious or contemplative, or it can be funny. Now, I'll let you decide, especially if any of you have or been in meetings or served in church meetings. You guys can take a look.
All right, thanks for coming, guys. I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about some ideas for our marketing strategy. We got one.
Was the last, the schedule wasn't exactly clear. Should be out of here at 30. Is that approximate or?
Hey guys, sorry I'm a couple minutes late. We got caught in traffic.
7 minutes, actually.
What's that?
Counts as 2.
So what we're doing is we're just coming up with some ideas for our new marketing strategy. Anyone?
I think we should implement Pinterest.
Ooh, that's a fun idea.
What about a publicity event in the park?
Interesting. But how are you going to plan around the weather? What if it rains?
So we'll party in the rain.
Okay, just want to emphasize there's no bad ideas here. We're just brainstorming.
Yeah, I'm just really thinking it'll be a huge waste of money to try to plan around the weather.
Yeah, okay, we get your concerns. Nancy, thank you.
That's an idea. Ephraim.
I've always wanted to see rain fall down all at once in a big splash instead of small drops over time. And think how it could impact the irrigation system.
Okay. Terry?
Well, I have an idea from my previous show that I had last year. Let me take that back a little bit. I have this wonderful idea, but it doesn't really make sense unless I just take it a second and bring it forward together. It was like 3 weeks ago that I remember he said something that I couldn't understand.
Hold on a second, Terry. Hold on. Thanks for pointing. Here's what we need to do, okay? Lauren, you got this? We do a video submission contest on YouTube.
Oh, okay. That's been done.
It'll be on Facebook, it'll be on Pinterest, it'll be on Twitter.
If we do something with technology, we lose the senior demographic.
So, you guys want to see an example?
Should we be moving on to the next topic? I mean, it's already quarter after.
Quarter after. That's funny.
Who's going to put this on the screen? Up there. You're not going to, I want you to see all the details. We have cable. Does this cable work?
And it's powered.
I don't know if on the there's an HDMI.
That cord's not going to be long
in
enough.
the back.
That remote goes
like 2 or 3, like
TV?
HDMI 1.
Plenty of time, guys. No rush.
HDMI
It's not working.
I got a green marker.
There's also S video.
Hello?
Okay, I got it working.
Hit play. Okay, now imagine hundreds of those floating around the web. You actually, do you want to watch it one more time?
No, please.
Trev, I think you're onto something with this idea. I really like it. Carol, did you get that down?
Yeah.
Sorry, what is C-test up sub YT pros?
Well, I'm abbreviating to make room for all these great ideas in the contest. Uploading it to YouTube, funniest, and you get a prize.
Wait, where are the other ideas?
And time.
Wait, where y'all going?
We still have 100% of the things to accomplish.
There you go. So if you've ever sat in a meeting, you know, I will admit I'm probably the social media person that's there and doing a lot of the social media that's going on. So thank you for being here today. I know a lot of you have other places you could be at, but appreciate you giving me some time today. This is me right here, my history. That's my freshman year photo. got that dug out. I'm a 1985 confirmand from Helensville, Wisconsin. I don't know if people know where Helensville is. I've been told there are a lot more cows than people in that town. I graduated from the now extinct Northwestern Prep and Northwestern College. Vicared in Green Bay at the campus that was on Oneida Street, where we would have to shut our windows because all of the brat smell from Lambeau would come in and other fun stories there. But that's where I really started to get into youth work under Pastor Parlow. From there, I undergraduate tutored at Luther Prep, got to spend 2 years in the dormitories. My definition of the tutor is yelling at students for trying to do the same dumb stuff I tried doing when I was that age. Then I took a hot minute at Cedar Grove, was the pastor there, graduated from the seminary in 99. Cedar Grove is right by Oostburg. I found out in a hurry that the motto is, if you're not Dutch, you're not much. And spent a few years there. Then was called to be the recruitment director at Luther Prep, and then Lakeside Lutheran, and again, Shepherd of the Hills is where I currently serve in West Bend. Now, I have to throw some caveats out here. If you can see it, this is Chris Farley over here. He is saying, do you want my head to explode? That's from a movie where he starred with, interesting, God willing, I hope they're both in heaven, starred with Matthew Perry, where they were like an offshoot of Lewis and Clark. They were the lesser known Lewis and Clark, and Matthew Perry's character was this high sophisticated person, and Chris Farley's was this kind of, Chris Farley character where he would, again, be the person that was very bullish, but at the same time didn't have an education. So they agreed, all right, you will teach me how to read. That's what Chris Farley told Matt Perry. And in exchange, Chris Farley was going to be the tour guide for Matthew Perry on this Lewis and Clark type expedition. In the scene you see there, if you can envision this, Matthew Perry holds up a piece of paper teaching Chris Farley in his first lesson, saying, this is the uppercase A. And then he's like going, okay, uppercase A. In a matter of seconds, he flips the paper over and says, this is the lowercase a. And all of a sudden, Chris Farley's like his head was going to explode. He's like, you want my head to explode? I say that because when you come to these conferences, you have information overload. There is going to be a lot of things that you are going to have crammed into your head. And so I'm always encouraging you to try to pick one from any seminar or the keynote speaker that may or may not work for you. All right? Case in point, when I was at that mission congregation in Cedar Grove, we were a struggling mission. All right? So I go to a missionaries conference because I want to learn how to grow the church. And the guy that was up there who was talking, who had a successful mission church, he was a friend of mine, but he was like throwing stuff out there, and I'm writing it down. He's like, well, in order to get out to the people, and I'm not making this up, he's like, the jeans I'm wearing, not me, this is him, the jeans I'm wearing are $150 jeans. So you got to wear $150 jeans in order to understand your people. So I'm writing down $150 jeans, okay? My treasurer just told me last week that we're short on cash. Don't know if he is able to pay my salary. So nope, no $150 jeans for me. And then he's like, then you got to get a praise band. And you get a praise band and people are going to come in. Okay, I worship 18 on a Sunday. Praise band, 1, 2, we saw up there how many were in Koine, 6, 7. So now I'm down to single digits in worship. So I would leave sometimes these conferences where I'm supposed to be like, I would leave depressed because I'm like, that doesn't apply to me. That isn't how my situation is. So I want you to realize what I'm about to tell you is what has worked for me and our church. Again, with the Spirit blessing it. It doesn't mean that this is, you guys go out and you do this and it's going to be successful. It means if you can just maybe find one thing or even take something that I have said here today or others and make it your own, that's a win. All right? Because if you saw in the introduction or the reason that you might have signed up, there is no silver bullet when it comes to working with the youth. All right? So, can anybody here, this is where you participate just a little bit, can anybody give me some of the myths that you think are out there working or having a youth group? Yeah.
Kids are too busy nowadays?
Too busy. Now we're going to find out, is that true or not true? Okay? Too busy. What else? Here's one, a friend of mine, Pastor Steinbrenner down at Hartford. It was funny. They had a room kind of like this in the basement of their church. Anybody from Hartford here? Peace? Okay. They had a room like this, and they had the foosball tables and air hockey and all this stuff. And you know how many teens showed up? Nah. Then they transferred they're like, well, this room is hardly getting used. So they sold all of their air hockey, all this, turned that basement room into, guess what? A coffee bar where all they're doing is throwing Keurigs around and having coffee, and they have the high stool tables, and guess what? More teens are coming there because they want to feel like they're part, right? Not out or segregated. So again, just a thought. My late father-in-law, too, was someone who worked in campus ministries, and he was always, again, I hear it at our church. We're going to be building soon, too. We just need to get a room. Maybe that room, and it's always some room that's like nobody ever thought of. What about the room up above, where all the boxes are, and it's either 108 degrees up there, like Dante Inferno of Hell, or it's like Planet Hoth. Maybe they'll like it up there. How about we just include them in already what we have for ministry, okay? That's one of the myths I really want to debunk. But I do want you to understand this, that you can control what you can control. Control what you can control, all right? I'm going to give you right now, and if you're with people that are in your congregation, try to find someone maybe that isn't, okay, if you can. And I want you to do what I call the Oreo cookie. I coached soccer for 20 years, and I've been told that the Oreo cookie is the best way, and it's one of the best cookies too, but I was told that is the best way when you want to do or criticize or speak or get results. Why Oreo cookie is like this? I'm going to look at you and go, oh man, love your shirt. Shirt's awesome. Okay, maybe the socks. I would have done something different with the socks, but man, I'm glad you're here, right? So it's compliment, maybe a slight little struggle or criticism, but then you end with something big, right? I think that's how my sermons are too. So, but I want you right now, I'm going to give you 3 minutes, talk amongst the people right now, and I want to hear from you. Do you have a youth group? B, right? Is there a struggle? Is there a joy? Or what is something you would like to see or celebrate? Okay? So timer is going to start now. This is where you talk.
So, as far as
and you guys as teens, feel free to jump in.
they're the lead roles right now.
Yeah, right there.
some are really cool people.
Hey, how you doing? How have you been, Jacob? Good to see you.
You're good with names.
Yeah, so you have that on. So I see your dad every once in a while too on Facebook. All is good with your family and everything too. Awesome, cool. And where are you at officially right now?
Oshkosh.
Awesome. Okay. Reserves or anything, or just still?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you for what you do. About halfway. All right.
So like, there are so far.
About 30 seconds. All right. So I hope in your own little breakout groups there, did you find out the kind of people that are in your meeting? Was there the negative person? Was there I got a green marker? Who would like to share? Or if I'm going to be like when I teach high school, if you have a pulse and you're in the room, I'm just going to point at you and you're going to start talking. All right? So, Tom, I just saw I made eye contact with you. Give me a thought or two, what was a joy, a struggle, or something that you guys discussed, please.
I guess several. Joy is to at least see some people participating in a youth program. In our particular case, we're starting one from scratch. The struggles are getting participation and knowing what to do to get more kids participating in it.
Okay.
And
okay, so that's good. I heard starting a youth group, getting participation, a place of maybe struggle. Okay, someone else. Yes, please.
There were like retreats you could go to where there were, you're away from all the parents and everything. So youth. When I was in youth group back in the day, there was somewhere that the teens could go to talk about the difficult things going on that potentially their families were involved in.
Sure.
Yeah, so they could open up about those things.
Yeah, and I'll get into at the end. So again, thank you for bringing that up. That towards the end of my presentation, I like giving away free stuff or giving away here's what's helped me, right? And that will be part of that as well. Some of those youth retreats, not just the youth rally, but other areas too. Good. Someone else? Yes, please.
Kind of a thought I had is we kind of discussed of having instead of more of like a lecture process, but having more like discussion involved. Because oftentimes I know, so even with myself, like if I'm listening to one person talk for a long time and then without anyone else, like just even having other people like, oh, like how what you just did, like talking to other people, like what are your thoughts? What are your things? Getting other people's ideas, because then you're opening it up and bringing everybody in instead of just keeping it just to yourself, involving everyone else.
Yeah, that's a great point. Not just having me yammer on, but interaction, right? Because we can help each other, right? I think we're all in this together. I've had friends, or I don't know if I'd say friends, but hey, how'd you do this? Well, you figure it out yourself. I'm like, well, okay, thanks, right? That's not much help. I think we're all the body of Christ and we want to build each other up. And also, as you are pointing out, this didn't come, I apologize to my first year of students that I taught, because I did exactly what you did. I was like, all right, the word of God today is, and I was like, maybe through failure I learned there's different ways of getting this message out, which is, I'm going to involve you. I'm going to take time out. We're going to have group projects. Okay? So good thoughts. Yes, up here, Mr. Jensen, please.
Just to keep it with the Oreo.
Yep.
The Oreo technique. A joy is, as a youth leader in your congregation, you can try anything. You have the freedom to just try something.
Mm-hmm.
The struggle is not everything's going to work. And the joy is to try something else.
Amen. Amen.
And what works for your church might not work for our church, and vice versa.
And that's where I hope you kind of come out of this. If you hear something, see something, take something away, and I've said this before, and make it your own. Again, I go back to that missionary conference, and I said, I don't want anybody here to leave going, oh, we're never going to be able to do what that guy did. Yeah. No, take what you have, the resources you have, right? And make it your own. I need you to take a look up here. Sometimes when I'm, C student, B student, right? As my teachers would joke, it took me an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes. They would say, then find other people that are smarter. I always call it the coaching method, right? What do coaches do? If a good coach is someone that is okay to admit failure or admit fault, but surround themselves with people that might be better in an area. Paul Walschmidt, he is a new guy, as we call him, right? There's a whole story there. He is now the professor of our future pastors at the seminary and teaching them education. And I want you to take a look at this quote and then maybe react, because there might be one or two things out of here that might have a Gru light bulb moment over your head. There are some challenges to their faith. This was me asking him, hey, if I'm speaking to a group of brothers and they want to know what we can do to work and to help our youth, this is what he came up with. There are some challenges to their faith that are beyond our ability to control. My thought is that we can have a plus youth group and a vibrant church and still lose kids out the back door, because there are things in their lives and their futures that we can't control. Remember what I started with, control what you can control. He said, we can't control the friends, future spouses, college profs, YouTube influencers that they will meet on the way. So we cannot necessarily fix the problem per se of them leaving. We put unnecessary pressure on ourselves and start to think the programs are what fix things instead of the Spirit working through the means of grace. So he alone is the fixer according to his plans and purposes, but we can be the best stewards that we can be of the young people entrusted to our care by striving for excellence in things like youth group and catechism. A lot of word vomit up there, but it's good. So I want you right now, let the squish between your ears react to that. And anybody at this time, if you're brave, shoot a hand up, or I'll call on you, so everybody in here is fair game, on what do you think about this? Is he right? Is he wrong? Is he, oh, that's just for seminary prof stuff. It's not for me or my youth. What do you think, Pastor James?
I think it's similar to what we kind of talked to parents about, too, that, I mean, you can train up your child and bring them up in the faith, but you don't know what they're going to reach in college, and we think you could be an extremely faithful parent, and they could be in church. I think one of the things that can help with this is talking about that continued relationship, and that's sometimes one of the problems with youth group. It's like, hey, it's this, and then the graduation or the confirmation, and so how do you talk about this continued relationship, and even kind of try to preempt some of these things? you will experience this in college. Like, these are things you're going to face. And so talk to your parents, talk to the church, talk. So I think understanding these things are going to come, but help prepare them for those things.
Help me. I love what you said. Help me. When is that talk happening? Or where?
Well, hopefully in youth group and also with their parents and family and all sorts of things.
Okay, I'm going to be me at that conference going, but I don't have a youth group. What do I do? I have teens, but no one shows up. So when should I be having these conversations? Silence.
Parents. With the parents and yourself.
Yeah. Right?
In confirmation class.
Confirmation class. Right? Anytime that you can. And this was kind of enlightening to me, that if all of a sudden you're coming in here and like, here's the magic bullet. I just left this guy's youth group, right? And that's going to solve everything. This needs to be happening earlier and earlier and earlier. Yeah.
So what if your church has transferred confirmation away from the pastors leading the confirmation to saying it's a parents' thing?
Are you a St. Marker?
I am a Bethel and Menasha.
Oh, okay. Because I knew that they do that up, right? The flipped classroom.
Recently, I'm relatively new to the church, but just recently they said that our situation, church and schools, it's a rare thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're part of an association. And the pastors said that we're not doing confirmation classes. It's the parents' job to do it.
Okay.
So what if you don't have a confirmation class? So then do you need to have a parent meeting and say, hey, this is what you need?
No, that's a good, he brought up he brought up a good point, and we've started to wrestle with that, because on the flip side, if you're like me at a congregation, and we're like, how do we get the parents more involved? So we're looking at it from the other side, right? And you got the parents involved. So now we got to find that middle ground. And I think wherever the conversation can happen, if it's encouraging the parents, right, as much as you can, whether I'm the one teaching them, that you encourage them that this is not just, we're just doing it for class. This is a rite of passage, but it's a lifestyle. So however we can, and again, I can't say specifically if it's if it's, do you have a school associated with your church too?
School, like I teach at the school.
Okay.
Like my family, my kids, I was trained MLC,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna get it.
Sure.
But what about those families who have just your normal lay parents who are like, I haven't gone through confirmation. Like I have great friends who are at the church and they're great Christians. They're great, but they don't have that background.
That background. Sure.
I struggle with the way it. I'm so new to the church.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to be that guy who's like, "Hey, this is because."
All right, write down Steve's name, everybody. We're hunting him down. No, I got you. And you bring up a good point, but I hope you understand what I'm saying as well, because what you're saying is very valid. But then there's other churches. Maybe some of us are arguing that we don't have enough parent involvement. Right. So now we got to find that secret sauce in the middle.
I think that's why they do it. They want that parent, which
Mm-hmm.
kind of what. Catechism is kind of supposed to be a family thing.
Yep. And that's how Luther intended it. And my prayer is whatever. And again, I'm not speaking ill of any brothers because they do it. Everybody does things differently. But then it's not just the parents, you're off on your own, go have fun. Because then that kind of goes back to the idea of like, teens, you go do your thing, you're on your own. There still needs to be shepherding. Right? Please.
What do you do with a weak family? Or a family where you've got the mother belongs to the church and brings the kids, and dad's somewhere else.
Yeah.
And he's maybe, and we've run into this too, where one parent thinks it's ridiculous to go to church, but mom insists bringing the kids. So you're talking about that in that environment,
Mm-hmm.
kids are going to learn the catechism.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's a tough sale. If I would have, I thought of it. The statistics that are there that, again, as men, here I can say this, that our role in our children's lives and spiritual lives is important. There was something floating around the internet that everybody's sharing it. I'm like, okay, it's good you're sharing it, but live it. Is like how many, 83% of teens that have a male parent that's active will be active in their church, right? And then, the statistics from there. But it doesn't mean you can't love that mom and encourage her and in her children, right?
Just the other thing is, it just seems like we get a large number of kids over the years. And I ran our Sunday school at the church for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw, and I had.
And thank you for doing that.
Sometimes I had over 100 kids in our Sunday school.
Awesome.
But there's none left. It's like they get confirmation. They get that diploma from God. And they're done.
Yeah, and that's where I even said, if we're talking confirmation, it needs to start earlier than confirmation. And I think that's what Pastor Walschmidt was getting to, that it can't just be, all right, 6th, 7th grade, now we got to get them ready. Because you are onto something. And if I were to say, again, true or false, we're becoming more reactory. We're trying to react to something instead of being proactive, right? I know a police officer in here, which is better, reactive or proactive, right? Yeah, see, he'll tell you, he doesn't want to share it, but I think you understand the idea that if everyone's like, our youth, we're losing them. Well, when do we have them? Right? From the baptismal font, God willing, let's start there. And let's keep working, right? Go ahead.
I heard a stat, and I don't know where this was from, if it's around the synod, but it's like if you send your kid to a WELS school, there's only a 3% chance that he's going to stay a WELS or a Christian. But yet, if you have devotions at home, it was exponentially unbelievable. So I've come to the conclusion that youth should really do family ministry and somehow work towards that.
Oh man, you right there. I should just drop the mic because again, I am someone, a product of a Lutheran grade school, high school. Not everybody is, right? Doesn't mean Jesus loves any of us any differently. He loves us all the same. But what you just touched on is big. And that is, again, what I'm going to tell you right now is what has worked for me, and that is this idea of relationships, building relationships. Now, I'm going to tell you what I do. Please don't think this is me tooting my horn, but this is what has helped me, all right? When I came to Shepherd of the Hills 4 years ago, youth program was kind of started something, then COVID hit, right? So now we're back, blowing up, restarting. Have about 30-some teens. First thing I did, I got carpal tunnel. What do you mean? I sat down and found out everybody's name and address, and I wrote them each a personal letter. Wrote them. I don't know how you feel. I'm one, I love to get mail. Even if I'm like, oh, it's a bill. Hey, someone's thinking of me. But when someone writes me, this is a lost art for anybody, 20 under, whatever that is, because we all thumb it. We have, true or false, again, we've become more, less communicative, or the things we are communicating, we're shouting past each other. And so it's been important to me, and I can't claim to have done this. Again, when I served with Pastor Parlow, that was something that he did. Like after my first week of preaching, all of a sudden I get a letter in the mail from the guy whose office is right next door to me. Simply said, hey, good job. That's all the card said. But I was like, someone thought of me. I mean, enough to take the time to write to me. And so when I start to build these relationships, then my ask isn't just, I see only on Sunday. Can you go run the PowerPoint or the AV booth? Go get in there. I have a relationship with them, through, again, either letters or interaction, or a favorite of mine is I go, if I know, and again, you're like, I can't do all of this. I understand, but I'm just telling you what has happened and worked is if I know they're in an activity, sport, even if they're like, I'm going to be at working the concession stand at the game. I'll just pop in and say hi. Just those moments, those touch points where I'm showing them outside of the class or outside of the church that they're important. And that has paid dividends. So much so that, and again, I think it comes back to my upbringing. When I was, I'd have to say 6th grade, Pastor Poggles, senior, came to me one day at church and he said, Clark, what are you doing next Sunday? And I'm like, I'm coming to church. This is like a trick question, Pastor. Are you asking me? And he said, well, good, because you're going to read the gospel lesson. Now, this was after a few years of our relationship together. I'm like, okay. I adopted that when I was in high school as a teacher as well, right? Giving teens, right? Tasks, things, asking them, not assuming, oh, they're not going to want to do this, but understand that relationship side needs to be there first before the ask. Does that make sense? Right? That you need to have that relationship built up, get that draft capital, whatever, so that when you do have something or ask them, it's not like, it's just pastor asking me. No, it's pastor who cares about me or youth leader who cares about me, right? Some of the other things you can't see up there, because I think this is an older presentation. I don't know why the new one didn't say, but you'll see there 80% of what I do is relationships, all right? What our youth group is right now, I'm at a church. We are a daughter congregation to Good Shepherd. So what that means is we share the youth. Well, let me back up. We share the grade school. My first year, we're both like, let's each do our own thing. Here's a thought for you. Maybe you're at a place where you're like, I only got 2 kids. Is there another church nearby that has got it going on, or that they have a successful youth group that you can piggyback with, right? So we share, and that's why if you're looking at, we started the youth group, and I'm all about branding. I don't know. I'm like, we got to have a cool logo. Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you to ask a question.
Sure, go ahead.
What is a youth group?
What is a youth group, he asked?
Because are you talking about a 4th grader?
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about a freshman in high school? There are thoughts passing around here that are applying to high school. Your remark was to a 6th grader. He's not going to be out there with a high schooler. We're talking youth group. Now we're talking youth groups. Where do we start with
that? See, you read my presentation, right? So that's, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of our struggles right now that we're going with in the group that I'm in. So I don't want you to think, I got it all figured out. You guys learn from me. But we are in our 4th year-ish, when counting COVID, that we're about at the area where I'm going to blow this thing up. What do I mean by blow it up? Because of what you just said. Are we working with the high school students? Okay. Or are we working with the grade school students? And right now, my answer is yes, And so it's that idea of right now for us is we have to pick one and put our eggs into that basket of what are we going to do? Are we going to go all in on the grade school? Which that's where I'm going to lean, but I have other people on my team with me. But at the same time, not give up on the opportunities that are there for the high school students. So, good point. I'm glad you brought that up, that there are times that we have to ask, what is our identity? Are we a grade school youth group? And please, I'm going to be honest with you. I learned it by default that I'm going to be a 6th through 12th grader. Okay, what grade are you guys in?
A junior.
Do you want to hang out with a 6th grader? Right? So we need to have that identity. Are we going to be a youth group for the high school, or are we going to be a youth group for the grade school? I'm right now leaning towards grade school, but I'm not dispelling high school because I know there's other opportunities that are there. James, did you have something?
Second your point of the working together with other churches. We're doing that right now with our youth group, where like 2 churches. So
where are you serving? And tell people here.
Morrison, Zion, so east of here, south of Green Bay, east of Appleton. So we're partnering with Shirley, Emmanuel, and so the pastors, we can share the duties, but then, and they can do Bible studies sometimes, we do Bible studies sometimes, but we share a lot of our activities, and our members can go to both places, and then we have members from both churches that can give their talents and share.
Pool your resources, yeah.
People who can bring food and people who can organize, and so you're sharing this larger pool of resources and people, and then the kids enjoy. And it's also being able to reach to people in other congregations too, these kids. So I think a lot of times you want bigger reach for the kids.
Yeah. So. First of all, I'm going to say that's excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Now I'm going to go and be my immature self and say, did you say the name of the church is Shirley? The other one?
Emmanuel.
Shirley? I was going to go to the movie Airplane and then I was going to say, Shirley, you must be joking. No, I'm not, and quit calling me Shirley. But no, I appreciate that. I'm going to now, how much time do we have here? Where are we at? Because I'm having 13 minutes. Okay, here's something else. Pastor Bloomer up at North Cross in Minnesota, another rock star when it comes to youth group. Said this, he says, parents don't encourage their kids to go to high school ministry with the same strength as they do for confirmation class. I'm going to try going because I don't want to have my noggin in the way. I think this is a big factor in teens not coming. Parents kind of think they're done at confirmation. We have to change that attitude and encourage parents. I think that comes back to something you were saying back there. When teens get to high school, they're even more focused on who's going to be there and am I going to know anybody? All right, so this is kind of helping us with an environment we're trying to create. We have teens from a lot of different high schools in our church, public and private. This has been critical mass. I found that teens like to be where other teens are hanging out. If the youth group is 3 to 10 people, it may not sound as exciting or fun. So how do we get critical mass? Obviously not easy for smaller congregations, but I think as Pastor James was saying, maybe you pool your resources. So his advice, don't give up. And then finally, if a small group really works towards personal relationships, I think I've heard that before, with kids, and if it's possible to have a college-age mentor. I'm getting to the point now where some of the youth that I've had are getting out of high school, in college, and are now starting to come back and say, what can I do to help? All right, that's an investment that was from one of those letters that now they're back and they want to help, right? Maybe you're not there yet, so it might be a little bit of a long term. So anyone react to this or give a thought? Yeah, please.
As a college student who wants to help, what is the best way to help when you feel like there's specifically for your church, there's not a youth group to help?
Okay, what's your name?
Micah.
Micah, I'm going to go. Micah, thanks for reaching out. What are some of your gifts or talents? What do you like? What are you passionate about?
I like working with kids.
Micah, let's work together and let's get you involved somehow. I don't know how, but I'm going to get you involved. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Have that conversation. And if you're
had that conversation.
And continue to have it. And if someone is like turning down like free help from someone who is you, which, I mean, I sorry, but I mean, this is, yes, come to their church. Because, yes, I've got other people. You see, you got other pastors here that are saying that if they're, and let me even starting back. If our whole approach to youth group is, oh, crap, I got the youth group, you know, or it's that thing over there. I mean, that's one thing I've learned from teens is authenticity. They can smell it, they can see it, And if you don't give a rip about it, why should they, right? So go ahead.
I feel like that was kind of a problem. I've gone to a couple of different Welsh churches, and I feel like that was kind of a problem. One of the problems I was having. It's like that. There was the attitude of, well, we've got a Lutheran grade school. Yeah, they were surrounded. We've got a grade school. We don't need a youth group. They're surrounded by these kids other kids all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we had a problem where it's like, would leave is called it, nicknamed the backdoor migration. Soon as it's the same problem, confirmation, and just you never see them again.
Well, you got Jesus at that school. What else do you need?
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, right over there. Go ahead, and then I'm going to come to you. Yeah.
So I was in LCMS when I was young, but I went to youth group. I was really passionate about youth group, but within about 3 years of being in college, like totally gone. And I don't know if it was because I went to the wrong college Christian group or something like that. But one of the things that I, looking back, think was interesting was once I was out of high school in college, my youth group would maybe talk to, youth group pastor would maybe reach out when I'm back in town or anything, but eventually didn't care.
Hold on to that thought, because I'm going to give you an idea that's free of charge to keep college students involved. Go ahead.
Well, the one thing I was going to say is that we run into a challenge in that the majority of the high school age children in our church go to the area high school, the Lutheran high school.
Well, you want to get me started. Go ahead.
They all go to Charlotte.
Yep.
So trying to get them involved, they're involved 5 days a week.
Yep, and that's where I'm going to give you a thought on what we have done. Understanding and recognizing the busyness of a teen schedule. These are some of the resources. If I have time at the end, I will show them to you by the links. Our Wells Congregational Services has a website there that they have materials. What we're doing now is we're doing a mini rally to get ready for the big rally. We're doing that at Kettle Moraine. They have all the materials there and how to do it. I made the mistake of saying, hey, this would be a great idea. And then someone's like, well, you're the keynote. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to open my mouth again. If you are looking for smaller Bible class, graphics, things that talk and communicate with the teens, these colored ones are gold. There is a subscription cost to them, but you get free stuff every month and download. They have Bible classes. They have games. They have things that are geared to today's teen, not like you going, well, back when I was in high school in the 80s, it's me. It's talking to today's teens, and that's there. And then Mike Wessendorf has what's called Awaken Alive. He has a whole day dedicated to high school and college students. But I want to quick show you, this is what our event year looks like. Every year, we sit down in July and plan. I already have said to my other teachers that I'm doing this with, this is getting blown up for the very reason you just said. Are we high school or are we college? Some of the things you can't see, like we did a downtown scavenger hunt. And let me back up. The idea of let's all get together, study God's word in a room, and that's how we used to do it back in the day. No, I understand. We meet once a month. And we alternate between we're going to do something fun with a little devotion, or we're going to do something service-minded, where the teens aren't talking about being the future of the church. They are the church. They're out in the community doing things, right? So one of the things we did was a scavenger hunt. We met downtown, had a devotion and a prayer, and at the time, our West Bend streets were all ripped up, and the businesses downtown were suffering. So there were little things. It was a Snapchat scavenger hunt, and you're like, I don't know how to. One of those websites, I think it was the DYM website, they give it to you and download and go, here's what you do, right? So I just printed it, but made a few changes to say, hey, if anybody goes into a business and buys something, they get points. If someone goes in and gets their picture taken with a member or the owner of the place, they get points. And ended up that this became like front page news in one of our West Bend Insider, that local teen group trying to help downtown. What exposure, right, for our teens. And it wasn't, we're locked in a room playing foosball and now Jesus loves us, right? Another thing we did, we tailgate at games. Another thing we do is there's a local theater. We usher there. Students are taking tickets or they're popcorn. They clean up after. We do the sledding and stuff. Culver's night is big. I don't know if you guys know that, but Culver's usually, at least the Culver's by us, they will have a percentage of whatever they raise between the time we're there from 4 to 7. And our teens are like with the aprons, and they're loving it. They're handing out number 36. Here you go, right? And we never have problems funding that. One thing that I heard someone say back there that I wanted to get to is college care package. We have the students get together, and we have a chili bake-off. We watch the Packers hopefully win, and we then pack care packages for the college students. And the teens write little notes in there to the college students and then send those off. As I said, we're getting to the point now where some of those teens that I started with are now becoming college students. So they're already like, hey, can you make sure I got extra, I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll get you Rice Krispies. We'll get that in there. But I will tell you, this last year, and I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, we sucked when we planned it. When did we plan it? Well, in July, it seemed like a great idea. But as you know, the seasons change here in Wisconsin. And the weekend we did it, everybody was wearing orange. And so we did it opening weekend, and hardly any teens showed up. So it was me and 3 other teens, whereas the year before we had 15. So you're like, all right, we got to go back to the drawing board and ask, do we want to keep doing this? Or let's be better about what's going on in the world and not just think people are going to come. So basically, we do it once a month. And again, this was created, I don't know if any of you know that, but there's a program called Canva, C-A-N-V-A. Makes you all look like you're Picassos, and you can make this stuff there. Just plug in your own dates. Where am I at time? Because I want to...
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay. Any kind of closing thoughts that people have? I like to give you stuff. I'm a Paul Tripp nerd, and Paul Tripp writes a daily devotion that I love. This one he wrote a year ago, and it talks about parents and teens. How do you prepare yourself? How do you pursue them? How do you encourage them to stay active in the Word? So as a parting gift, I'm going to give this to everybody. And if anybody's got a question or comment, on the back, you saw I threw up the bat signal. If you got questions, or you want to hand those out, thanks, Mark. Yeah, thank you. That you can reach out to me, and I will be more than happy to say, I love helping and bouncing ideas off of you and go, hey, you said this, we have this, what do you think we should do? All right, I'm more than happy to talk, share, just because I love teens. Love you guys. And I'm passionate about encouraging them in their faith walk. Why? Because people did that for me, and we get to pay it forward. Yes?
More of a question to the group. Those of you who have like solid youth groups, what age groups do you do? Like, are you a 5th to 8th, 6th to 8th, high school, 7 to high school? Like, is there one that you would suggest I start? We haven't had any youth group at our church. Not that I know of. 7 to 10? You know, like, what would be the best way to start that out? I want to start something, but I don't even know where to start.
I would encourage, he brought up, where do you start? My encouragement would be start small and make whatever you do awesome. Because then people will gain momentum by saying, oh, because that's what happened with our scavenger hunt. You know, the next event, people were like, you should have been there. We had pizza. We had this, we had that. And again, don't try to do it all in one fell swoop, because then that's just, you're going to set yourself up.
Right. I think it might shift too.
Yeah.
Like if you have a strong core, that moves
Right, it
you
might
that
just-
is like sophomore, junior, senior, and then then you have these freshmen, and maybe they're really getting like close with eighth graders, right? That are going, the 8th and 9th grade. So like right now, we used to have a stronger core that was, sophomore, junior, senior. Now our core is 8th, 9th, 10th. So if you limit it, then you maybe cut out some of those seniors. I think there is a healthy thing to have the senior to 8th grade, because don't downplay that mentorship of the older kids even within high school, and but look at where your core is, and maybe just see, like right now might be younger kids, might be older, but kind of see where you're at.
Sure. Good point. Yes.
So I'm going to preference my statement by saying I'm one of the guys that leads Lutheran Pioneers nationally. And what I would say is the biggest takeaway, I think, is creating a lifestyle of participation. So starting early, starting often. I mean, there's a tailor-made program in Lutheran Pioneers for the younger boys and girls. And it's an easy way to go into a teen youth group then. And then from there, have a young adults group, keep them active in the church and in Christian fellowship all of their lives. And then you don't have as big of a problem. To start with kids that are just all of a sudden in high school and with nothing previous is a hard road.
And what you said is exactly, it's being proactive versus a lot of us sometimes are like reactive, like, what are we going to do?
And then the other thing is you never want to put, let's say, high schoolers with grade schoolers. I mean, maybe 8th grade. But the fact is it always goes to the lowest common denominator. So if you've got a kid that's in 4th grade and you've got them with high schoolers, it's always going to go to the lowest common denominator.
I think that's it for time.
Okay. Thank you.
If you found this useful, the greatest gift you can give us is to pass it on to a friend. These recordings are free because of the support of our donors and sponsors. To visit our sponsors, to donate or to volunteer or to find more recordings, go to menofhisword.org. James and Timothy Rudat helped record and edit these episodes, and I am John Rudat, the technical manager for Men of His Word.